Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's Lunch and Learn session with the Eastern Cyber Resilience Centre. We've got a lot to get through, folks, in 30 minutes. So I'm Jim Stevenson. I'm an inspector with Cambridgeshire Police, and I'm the deputy head of the Eastern Cyber Resilience Centre, a police-funded organisation that tries to help small and medium-sized businesses and charities improve their cybersecurity and cyber recovery. Joining me today is Emily Bevan from the National Cyber Resilience Centre Group. Emily's going to be managing the chat. I'm going to give people like a minute or so for any latecomers to join, and then we'll get going. There's probably not going to be a huge amount of time at the end, folks, for Q&A. So if you have any questions, please drop them straight into the Q&A function. It's at the top of your screen between chat and people, I hope. If that function doesn't appear for you, then use the chat instead. But Emily's going to be trying to answer your questions in the Q&A area as we go through. So if you think of a question, just type it into the Q&A box, and hopefully Emily will be able to answer it. If there's any sort of general questions at the end, I'll try and leave time for that. But there's a lot of slides and not very much time. Okay, so today's agenda, what we're going to quickly talk about is personal device use in the care sector and why it can be risky, the use of social media apps and messaging, some principles around safe data sharing, the CRC network, who I am, who the rest of the police officers and police staff who work in this function are, and how you can get in touch with us at the end if you need any further help. It's 2 minutes past 12, and because I'd like to get all this done and maybe give a chance for some of you at the end to ask, we're going to get started. So why using personal devices at work is risky. I'm going to say, folks, my conclusion at the end is not going to be it's bad to use your personal device at work. It's certainly not. But like anything else we operate in, whether that's sort of lone workers operating out in the community or late night working or shift work, it's just something we have to risk assess. But so don't take that to mean, oh, blimey, he's going to tell me why all this is bad. But we are going to talk through some of the risks and the perils and pitfalls and how you can mitigate against them. The meeting's being recorded, folks. And I understand, Saf, I'll be sending a recording and the slides out at the end. So no, you don't need to take notes. Also, everything I talk about today is available off the Cyber Resilience Centre's websites. So I'm going to tell you nothing today that you couldn't find out for yourselves via another means if you had to. If you want to take notes, please do. So, cybercrime in general. Why is the government and the police pushing cybercrime prevention in such a big way? So basically, in the last 12 months, 41% of all health or care organisations fell victim to some sort of cybercrime. Sorry, folks, my slides have just disappeared. That's not really helpful. Can anyone give me a thumbs up if they can still see the slides? Hey, brilliant. Thanks very much. It's okay, I've got them back. 41% of health, and so about nearly half of you. Actually, that's slightly better than industry in general, folks, where we reckon somewhere between 55 and 58% of all small and medium organisations have been victims of some kind of cybercrime. 95% of cybercrime is actually just fraud. So a lot of those cybercrimes are scams where basically the organisation that you work for or you represent has lost money to some kind of online fraud. They are counted in the cybercrime figures. Cybercrime last year was half of all this country's recorded crime. And we reckon it's one of the most underreported. 50% of care providers use Bring Your Own Device as a means of dealing with work. So that's where people come to work, they have an app on their phone that they use to access business systems, but the phone or the tablet that they're using to access that app is their personal device, not one issued to them by work. And actually, only half of those providers that we've engaged with have a robust policy around the use of what you can use that device for, how you should be using it, how you should store information. 40% of all the staff that were surveyed by the UK Cyber Breaches Survey said they regularly use their own device to store sensitive information that perhaps should have been stored somewhere else. And cost, obviously, is the main driver for this. You've probably got lots of staff. They might be part-time, they might be temporary, they might be agency staff. You certainly don't want to be investing a fortune in your own IT infrastructure when all you need them to do is download and use an app, and they can do that on their own device. 70% of the staff who are delivering that face-to-face care out in the community or in the care setting itself are likely to be using their personal devices for that. And we're not talking about they're using their personal devices to store a bit of company information that might be financial, or maybe it's just administrative detail. It actually contains personal sensitive information about the people that they are caring for. So in sort of GDPR terms, it's high value information. So there we go. I think I've covered some of this. It's a great, flexible, low-cost option. I don't think any industry or sector is immune to using this. Even in the police, although I am issued a police issue mobile phone, I still need to be able to multi-factor onto that device. And to do that, I have to do that using Authenticator app on my own personal mobile. So it's a very light touch, bring your own device policy for me as a police officer, but it still does exist because it's the only way to get around certain problems. Why is it growing? It enables staff to work remotely. It enables them to use familiar technology. You know, if your company issues Samsung phones and most of your staff are Apple fanatics, then there's an inevitable friction there between what they're used to and what you're asking them to use. Why not just see if they can use the same systems and applications on their Apple device and get them to download it there? COVID-19, the pandemic, rapidly accelerated personal device use. Obviously, for lots of people who went into the office and used computers in the office, there wasn't an ability or an infrastructure for those places of work to issue people laptops and get them to their home addresses. It was just a case of, right, this is how you can use your own personal computer at home or your own personal device at home and log on to work systems. Bring your own device does bring extra risks if it's not properly managed, like anything else. So why are you a target? So if you're an online criminal, data held by you is of high value. It contains people's personal medical information. It contains personal details about where they live. It might contain details about their medical conditions they have, or access information for getting to their home or things like that. These are all things that, although most scammers operate from abroad, folks, they might not be able to use directly. It has a resale value to other criminals. It has a blackmail value for your organization, which, the cyber criminals will steal that data, and then knowing that its public release will cause you all sorts of headaches, they will then contact you and attempt to extort money from your organization for not releasing it. And obviously they can't do that and then not release the information if you don't pay. So even if you can't pay, they will still carry out that threat. Tight budgets and limited IT support. Obviously, you're running care businesses, you're not running IT companies. Make stronger controls hard to maintain. And any kind of staff turnover leads to increased risks here about people familiarity with the systems you're asking them to use. They've got to learn to use it. They've got to learn to use it safely. They need to do the training to do that. And all these things, if you've got lots of temporary staff or agency staff rotating through your industry, rotating through your place of business, that's just more friction that makes this harder. Cyber criminals know this, folks. When we talk about cyber criminals, I'm not talking about some bloke in a hoodie sitting in his mum's basement in front of some Starship Enterprise array of screens. Almost all cyber criminals belong to some kind of criminal enterprise. You know, they are part of some vast illegal money-making machine, and they are targeting people based on the weaknesses that they know. They do industry research, they do social media research, they collect intelligence on potential targets, and they pick targets they think are vulnerable or that they know will have very little option but to engage with them, because the systems and the industry processes they're running are critical to people's lives, and they will apply pressure to that. We've ransomwared your data, it's locked, we know you need that data to provide day-to-day care, so we're just going to make it increasingly difficult for you to operate until you give us money to go away. That's the business model that these criminals are operating to. So personal diversity. We've covered a bit about how many of your organizations faced some kind of cybercrime last year. Last year, according to the FOR, the Information Commissioner's Office, sorry, the ICO, 1 in 4 UK data breaches involved health or social care data. I think we all remember the Manchester Hospitals data breach. Like most crime, folks, in the end, security is only as good as the people we ask to implement it. 63% of the data breaches last year were caused by some sort of human error. And that's just who we are as a species, folks, I'm afraid. The 3 big police data breaches last year, which were the Police Service of Northern Ireland, Greater Manchester Police, and the City of London Police, one of those was definitely and entirely a human error. And the other 2 were supply chain attacks. And again, almost all of those vulnerabilities were exposed would have been involved a human somewhere. So the key message here from the National Cybersecurity Centre is that the rapid use of bring your own devices is outpacing our security controls. The systems, the policies we have in place to manage that safely, the need for us to use our own devices at work has outstripped our own organisation's ability to risk assess what risk that poses and to take reasonable steps to mitigate it. There we go. BYD isn't the problem. Unmanaged BYOD is. With the right training, the right policies, the right tools, you can keep your staff, your patients, and your data safe, but it's a risk you have to manage like every other risk that you're working with, both inside and outside of your computer infrastructure. So we're going to have it's not really a game, folks. I'm going to ask you a few quick questions. I haven't turned the polls on for this because it just slowed the whole process down a bit. So I'm just going to ask you to drop your answer to this in the chat. So you have a staff member, they're using the same PIN and password for their personal phone as they also use to type into the work app on that phone that they use to access it. So the PIN they use to unlock the phone is also the PIN they use to access the app. Yeah, great. Anyone not think it's high? Don't be shy. Yeah, brilliant, folks. That's amazing. Yeah, of course it's a high risk. Why? Because if somebody breaks into their personal device, they've also got access to the app that gets them onto that data that's your company's, your organization's personal sensitive data. This is true for anything, folks, anyway. You know, if the PIN you're using to unlock your Barclays app or your Starling app on your phone is the same PIN you use to open your phone, if that's also the PIN you use to access WhatsApp, yeah, once somebody's through one line of defense, the other line of defenses have vanished because they're using exactly the same key. It's like having multiple doors all off the same key. So how do we fix this? Again, tricky to make people comply other than by you find out too late that they've not, but insisting that people use unique passwords, use multi-factor authentication tools, use a password manager if it involves actual logging in from passwords and rather than PINs. This is the ways you can mitigate that. Telling people it's against company policy to have the same PIN to access the app that you've provided them with to do with their work as the PIN they use to unlock their phone is a good start. You know, you're introducing sensible controls. And for most people who don't realize the risk this posts, at least it's making them think about it. So scenario 2, staff member finishes working. Obviously they're working out maybe in people's homes. They go into a cafe and log on to the free Wi-Fi there to finish entering care notes for the person they've just seen. How risky is this? Low, medium, or high? Now, I think a few people have been to this webinar before, or one of the similar ones. Yeah, folks, fantastic. Yeah, great. Yes, it's high. So public Wi-Fi, criminals will spoof public Wi-Fi. So actually they create fake public Wi-Fi in the hope that as we log into it, they'll be able to see unencrypted information passing backwards and forwards. Obviously, if what that is revealing is me posting a picture of my cat to Facebook, it's not particularly important. But if it's them updating the health and care notes for one of your patients, that's a much more different story. That's very sensitive information. How can we mitigate against this? Well, first of all, don't use the free public Wi-Fi. It's a great one, but that's not often very practical. Ask them to install a VPN, for instance, on their device. There are free ones, there are paid for ones. Some of the apps that you might be using to upload sensitive information in your care setting, they might come with a built-in VPN, but do you know that? Do your IT people know that? Making sure the device is up to date. Installing an app that's a security checker, so it looks at public Wi-Fi when you log into it and says whether this public Wi-Fi appears to be genuine or not. The best one here, folks, is probably either the VPN option or the mobile network. Actually, yes, you're using your own personal laptop, but we did give you a company issue phone. Just tether your laptop to your company phone so it's going over the mobile network. It's a lot more secure than using free Wi-Fi. Or mandate the use of a VPN. So this is the final one, folks. So thank you very much for engaging with it. Staff member, they've taken a picture of the code for a service user's lockbox, or they've taken a photograph of their care notes, or maybe they've had to record some stuff on paper, and that picture is now stored in the personal photos or the personal notes app on that user's phone. How risky is it? Yeah. Excellent. Yes, folks, it's high. So obviously, depending on what their device is, their personal notes app might not be secured. If their phone is lost, the notes app might not be pinned or passworded if their phone is hacked or cracked or after it's been stolen. For those of us that use cloud services, and if we're enrolled in family sharing, if I take a picture on my personal mobile phone, that picture uploads to my family's cloud platform. So other members of my family can see those photographs. If it's a picture of me at a trade event, folks, nobody cares. But if it was a picture of me taking a photograph of a document with someone's personal details on, that is an issue. And again, staff members might not realize these risks exist. So the mitigation for that, tell people, we're really sorry and it might be inconvenient, but only use the organization's approved apps. Make sure that those apps are protected by strong passwords and the use of multi-factor authentication. And provide staff with training and some guidance on why they can't, why it's bad, not necessarily why they can't. Let's never say never for emergencies, folks. But why, if you do have to use the personal photograph, the camera on your personal phone, and it takes a photograph, the minute you've managed to record that information somewhere safe, delete it, remove it from your cloud. Yeah, absolutely. Again, some of the risks with social media and messaging apps. I don't need to talk about the police and WhatsApp, but again, the use of personal phones and apps. So, using WhatsApp or Facebook, maybe for a work social aspect. So maybe you organize, not particularly sensitive information, having a work WhatsApp group where you discuss who's going out to get lunch today, when our next team meeting is. Somebody's asked for urgent leave and they've asked somebody else if they can, and they're looking for somebody else to help them cover their work. asking people, do you want to go out for a drink after work on Friday? Using the sort of things like WhatsApp or Facebook groups for that kind of general administrative work chat, not really a problem. Sharing operationally sensitive information, that's a policing term, folks, but sharing actual company sensitive information on those social media platforms, I'm afraid, is a lot more risky. First of all, there's the inevitable risk that somebody posts a message they meant just to post to the work group, and they end up posting it, I don't know, to their family WhatsApp group instead, or the WhatsApp group they use to organize their extracurricular sporting activities, or whatever it is. Free apps obviously aren't always designed to handle this sensitive information. Again, if you're on public Wi-Fi and weak passwords, you might be exposing data, and then you might not even realize the data breach has occurred. So if you can, discourage people from using those things for work-related information other than mundane stuff that you'd be happy to post on your work's LinkedIn page or on your work Facebook page. This stuff isn't about blame, folks. It's about awareness. Often, we've all got busy lives, especially if we've got stressful jobs, we might not realize the risk we're under. So, sharing data safely. And I'm going to have to speed up a bit because Emily's told me I'm behind time. Please, please insist that your staff only share data using the apps and platforms that you have approved for that use. Explain to them the risks of, even if they have to do it in an emergency, explain to them the risks of storing sensitive information on their personal device in unapproved apps, even if it's only temporarily, and why they need to rectify that as soon as possible. Use encryption. The VPN is a classic example of that. But again, you can get systems that if you've got work email or a work email app on your phone, is that app encrypted so that that bit of your phone is now secure? And follow organization-specific rules for who can access and share data. So make sure that staff know what they're doing with their data and the way you approve of them using it. Train staff regularly. Again, this is I appreciate this is one of the biggest overheads you probably have, folks. But staff training, buy-in, and understanding. Buy-in comes from the top, folks. If the directors of your company aren't following these rules themselves, then the staff are going to wonder why they have to. Make sure the staff understand the risks of using this, so they know that if they have to do it in an emergency, they can take reasonable precautions. And actually, is this an emergency, or is this something I can actually do later? Technical controls, such as mobile device management platforms, can help secure personal devices that are accessing work data. The NHS Data Security and Protection Toolkit is a great source of guidance on this, as is the National Cybersecurity Centre's Bring Your Own Device guidance. Things your policy should include. The scope of use. So, which devices am I allowed to use? What apps do you expect me to use? What work tasks are permitted? What aren't? Really sorry, for this stuff, you're going to have to come back to the office and upload it on a work issue device on a secure network that we trust. Maybe some things are that sensitive. If not, please do it when you're either at home, on your own Wi-Fi that you know is reasonably secure, or if you have to do it in public, make sure you switch the VPN on. Strong passwords. The NCSC's guidance for passwords we send out all the time, folks. The use of multi-factor authentication. How devices can be encrypted, how apps on devices can be encrypted, even if the device isn't generally, and making sure that devices stay up to date. Making sure your devices stay up to date, folks. Keeping devices so they download the automatic updates when they become available and don't get deferred over and over and over because the person wants to just get on and do their work. Why that's a risk, again, is covered in the CRC's core journey, as well as in those documents I've just mentioned. What are your staff? Do your staff understand their responsibilities? Do they understand that when they use their device, they are, like anything else they do, taking an organizational risk, and they understand that the controls you've put in place are to reduce that? What do your staff understand what they have to do if they lose or a device is stolen that they were using? You know, it's okay if they use their personal phone to access work information, but do they know that if their personal device is stolen when they're not at work, they still need to tell you because your app and access to your information was on that device? How do you monitor this? How do you ensure compliance? You know, have you explained to staff that, you know, the compliance might not be an issue, but if they put your business at risk, their job is at risk by default. And are the staff getting the training and support they need from management to make sure they understand all these policies and they're able to comply with them as best they can? And if they can't, they know what to do, how to escalate. There we go. So align your policy with the guidance from the NCSC. Some key resources here to help you with your bring your own device policy, folks. The NHS Data Security and Protection Toolkit, the NCSC's Bring Your Own Device guidance, and some network training from us in the CRC. And I'll tell you who we are next, and then we're going to finish off. So who are the CRC network and how can they help you? 5 minutes to go. The CRC, folks, we are 9 regional organisations governed by a national body. We are all staffed and funded by the police. Almost everyone who works at a centre is either a police officer or a police staff, or they're employed directly by that centre, and that centre is managed by police officers and police staff. We are funded by the government through the police's Cyber Protect grant, and we were set up about 5 years ago to allow the police to collaborate with industry and academia so that we were giving small and medium organisations the best guidance we could with the most up-to-date information approved by the National Cyber Security Centre. This is not the police telling you what you need to be doing, folks. This is the government cyber experts, the NCSC. We're handing out their guidance. We help any small or medium-sized organisation, so anything that employs 250 people or less, including charities and schools. And because it's all paid for by the police and therefore by you folks, it's free. What do members of their regional CRC get? Sorry, I managed to knock something on the floor there. We keep you up to date with threat alerts about what's happening at regional and national level. We send out monthly newsletters telling you about the latest guidance and when that guidance has been changed and the latest things that you need to think about. We signpost you to lots of free tools and resources from the police, from the National Cyber Security Centre, from the National Cyber Resilience Centre's groups, CyberPath scheme. We can give you access to all sorts of funded security awareness training, such as presentations like this, or in person, or training for staff, customers, help with how you manage your supply chain. You can book meetings with us. If you're a member of your regional centre, we will do our best to help you. And if we can, we'll point you to the free resources first before you start having to worry about going out and spending money. So we're coming up to the end, folks. So I'm going to ask you for 4 things I want you to remember at the end of this webinar. Thank you for sticking with me through this. This has been a bit of a whistle-stop tour. I haven't even paused to take a drink of water. So if anything I need you to remember from this webinar this afternoon, sorry, these 4 things. 1, only use approved apps and platforms. Those are approved by your organization, folks. You can make those approvals in line with national government guidance, but these are commercial decisions. But, you know, encourage your staff, ask your staff to agree that they'll only use the things you've approved to do your work's business on. Make sure that the staff are protecting their devices and the apps that you're asking them to use with strong passwords. 18 characters plus, folks. Use the 3 random words trick to create a decent password if you're not using a password manager. Strong and separate passwords for everything. And if you can, use the multi-factor authentication tools that most apps and websites these days provide, especially if they're dealing with sensitive information. Make sure that your organization has a bring your own device policy and make sure that it's accurate to what you actually want your staff to do, and then review it in line with the latest government guidance and the latest guidance from the NHS. And finally, this is the big plug for us, sign up for our newsletter. It comes out once a month, folks. It comes out via email, and we will try and keep you up to date with what's going on in the world of Cyber Protect. And with that, folks, I'm going to leave this page up with links on the end. It's how you can report suspicious contact to your organization and a few other links. Again, the slides will be coming out. And that, folks, is the end of my webinar. And we do have a minute or so. Emily, is there any common themes to the questions where you'd like me to chip in? Silence is golden from we have a hand up. Jane, is that you? Hang on a second. I don't know if I can unmute you. I'll try.
No, sorry, that was just me waving at you.
Oh, right. Thank you very much. Oh, no. Well, that's flattering. Thank you very much. Oh, hang on a second. Emily's just posted a quick message here. So let me just have a look. Yeah, that's Emily answering a question in the Q&A. Folks, it's 12:30. I apologize if that was absolute information overload and a whistle-stop tour, but welcome to my world. Thanks very much for joining us today. There'll be some more of these in the future. We'll talk about other things, such as how to create a data secure environment and what the importance of staff training and why passwords are your first line of defense and things like that. So keep an eye out for these things being advertised in the future. It was a pleasure to talk to you all today, or I should say talk at you all. If you need anything else, feel free to contact us. The Eastern Cyber Resilience Centre, for those of you that are in East Anglia or Kent, is down there at the bottom. The National CRC Group will tell you how you can contact your regional CRC if you're outside of my area. Thank you. Okay, folks, there's a few of you left. I'm going to turn the meeting off now. Emily and I will have a quick debrief. Thanks very much. Maybe see you at the next one.